Have you ever sent an API request or start a process only for everything to suddenly stop with a pipeline disconnection error? Maybe your WordPress plugin stops suddenly, or your OER application hangs forever, or your Docker container refuses to return the results. The good news for you today is that this error isn't as complicated as it sounds. In this video, I will explain what it means, why it's happened, and the exact step we can take to fix this. Without no further ado, let us get it started. So, what is pipeline disconnection error? Think of your application like a delivery service. Imagine someone order a package. The order goes from the customer to the warehouse, then to the delivery truck, and finally to the customer's house. If the truck breaks down halfway, the package never arrives. That is exactly what a pipeline disconnection error is. The application sends a request through multiple services. For example, your WordPress website sends an image. The image goes to an AI server. The AI server processes it. Then send the results back. If any of these steps stop communicating, the entire pipeline breaks. So that is what we mean by pipeline disconnection error. So what does this error usually mean? So don't get confused. You will commonly see this error when working with things like WordPress plugin, AI application, APIs, Docker containers, cloud services, CI/CD pipelines, or even microservice. Basically, anywhere multiple systems need to communicate with each other, this pipeline disconnection error can basically occur. So let me explain better. So if you are dealing with a system whereby different system we have to communicate to each other before it actually gets into the final stages, this pipeline disconnection error can basically occur. And imagine from the word pipeline disconnection, you should have get an hint of what it is, right? So pipeline, that means something connecting each other, and imagine that pipeline should break. That means there's a leakage there, right? So that is actually what it means. That means when you send an API request and the AI is not able to return that request, when you send an API request, this API should get you an image, and the AI was not able to send you the image back, while your front end is waiting for the image to be returned back, and if you don't see the image, it usually will bring out pipeline disconnection error. So these are the cases where you can see a pipeline disconnection error. So let's go into the next question, which is what causes a pipeline disconnection error. So now let's look at the most common causes. So number one is poor network connection. So sometimes the request never reaches the server because the internet connection is unstable. So if you should have an unstable internet connection, the chances of pipeline disconnection error to occur is highly effective, right? So let's say the server loses connection before sending the response, right? So if the server should lose the connection before sending the response, a pipeline disconnection error will occur, or even a short interruption can break the pipeline, right? So, and the second thing that can cause a pipeline disconnection error is wrong API endpoint. So if there is a wrong API endpoint, there will surely be a pipeline disconnection error, right? So this one is one of the easiest mistakes you can ever make as a developer. So if your application sends a request to the wrong URL, there is nothing there to respond to. I've given a tip about this before. So the communication immediately fails. Always double check your endpoint's URL carefully, right? So let's say there was this face application I've been working on. So this face swap is a face swap application, right? So if a user sends the request and that they send a request that they want to generate an image, they've uploaded their image. Now it is now time for the system to actually work. Fine. Now the images will be sent to the backend. So the backend will process the images and send the image to the AI that we cut out the faces and swap the faces, right? So and if the backend is sending a request to a wrong endpoint, maybe it's a wrong endpoint that is meant to process that image, there will surely be a pipeline disconnection error. But if it's sending to a good endpoint, fine, it will work, it will not break down. So coming back to the third one, which is number 3, so we have the server timeout. So the server timeout is part of the things that causes a pipeline disconnection error. So some operations take time. Yes, they take a lot of time. Let me see, if you want to generate an image or you want to try even though in some big agencies at times you want to generate an image and it's taking a lot of time. So if it is taking a lot of time to just tell that okay, we are unable to generate an image, just refresh the page or just wait for some time, right? Because of that server timeout. So some operations take time to execute, especially AI generation or video processing system, right? So if the server take longer than the timeout limits, the clients give up waiting, right? So the clients will give up waiting and disconnect. So the process might still be running on the server, but the client is not available to receive the response. But your application always consider it failed. So if you have a server timeout, there are high chances that the pipeline disconnection error can be very, very effective. So number 4 on the list, we have Docker container stop running. So if your backend is inside Docker and the container crashes, restarts, or even run out of memory, your request won't reach the service anymore. So always make sure your container are LD. So make sure your Docker container are LD. So number 5 is authentication problem. So many API require API key or access token. So if those credentials expires or are incorrect or even they are missing, the server rejects the request. No communication, no pipeline. No communication means no pipeline. So the main thing you just need to have about this pipeline disconnection error is pipeline disconnection error occurs if there is a breakdown in a system. You get, so in a system there are a lot of things that make a system to actually work. So if there is just a single breakdown, okay, something is meant to pass from one stage to another, the whole system we have error, right? So it's as if in a system whereby one or two things depend on each other, right? So there are high chances that pipeline disconnection error will occur if not taken, right? So let's go into the 6th one. This is server resources. So sometimes the server simply doesn't have enough CPU or memory. When resources run out, application can freeze, crashes, or even disconnect user unexpectedly, right? So let's go into the 7th one, which is software bugs. So unhandled extension inside your application can stop the entire process, right? So part of the things that can cause pipeline disconnection error is software bugs. So unhandled extension inside your application can stop the entire process. Instead of completing the request, the application crashes. This breaks down the communication pipeline, right? So now let's go into the next section, which is how do you fix pipeline disconnection error. So how do you fix pipeline disconnection error? It is very, very simple. If you can understand the concept and understand the approach to it, basically you are free to fix this, right? So all it does have to do is, because even though I give you one approach of fixing it, you need to have diverse knowledge that okay, in these cases, if something should happen, you need to know what you will do, right? So I'm having a pipeline disconnection error in my own system. It's kind of still different from you having a pipeline disconnection error in your system, right? So how do you fix pipeline disconnection error? Just pay attention, please. So now let's go into the troubleshooting process. Don't guess, work step by step. So the first one is identify where the communication stops, right? So and one of the way you can identify where a communication stops is if you should go into your if you should inspect your page, or let me say you're working on the web and inspect your page and go to console, right? So you can see some errors that are popping up there. From there you can have an hint of what the error means, right? So, or let me say you are working with Docker and your endpoint URL is not correct, right? Or maybe let me say it is having an error in the system on one or two or the other. You can just go there, check some things there. Okay, are there any error popping up here? Because you must always have an error popping up that okay, pipeline disconnection error occurring, right? So check there, cross check multiple things, right? So one of the way you can check it out without no stress, without no hassle, is by going to console and checking it out from there. So first one is identify where the communication stops. So does the request leave your website? Does it reaches the API? Does the backend receive it? So if you can answer those 4 questions, or does the backend finishes processes before sending the response, right? So this question will give you we will give you a things you need to check out, that we need to check out in order for you to identify where the communication stops. So finding the broken link save hours of debugging rather than just checking random code and feeling like it is something that you cannot solve. So I will mention the 4 things again. The 4 things are: does the request leave your website? Does it reach the API? Does the backend receive it? But does the backend finish processing but never send the response? So those are the 4 things you need to look out for. So after doing that, and you can answer that, the second thing you need to do is test your API separately. You used to like Postman or similar API testing software. So if you can test your API and confirm that yes, this API, there's nothing wrong with it, just have it in mind that the API is finally working, but you're having issue with what? The client. You're having issue with what? Let me see. The page, maybe let me see your website, your front end, it's not able to communicate to the back end, which is the API, right? So if the API basically doesn't work independently, the problem isn't your website, it is what? The back end, right? So test your API separately. Used to like Postman or similar API testing software. If the API doesn't work independently, the problem isn't your website, it is what? The back end. So step 3 is check your server logs. Check your server logs. This is very, very, very important. So check your server logs. This is very, very important. So logs tells you exactly what's happened, right? So look for errors, timeouts, authentication failures, or unexpected crashes. Logs are usually the fastest way to identify the real problem. So step 4, let me say, okay, fine, you're using Docker. I'm mentioning Docker because this pipeline disconnection error, it has a lot to do with Docker, right? So if you're experiencing the error, mainly occur if you have a system, if you have a multi-layer system, a system that talks to, like there is let me put it this way, like as if there is a system inside a system. If one should fail, the other will fail, right? So if you're using Docker, check whether your container are still running. So make sure they haven't started, stopped, or become unhealthy. So number 5 is verify your API credentials. So expired token, wrong API keys, or incorrect authentication error can cause pipeline failure. Imagine you have an office and you have an office and someone is trying to break into your office without your permission or without your key, right? So once you think it is a thief or unexpected access, you think so, right? So for your API, for your front end to talk to your backend, or for your backend to send a request to the API, you have to have the correct access in order for you to do that. So if the access is wrong, there will surely be a pipeline disconnection error, because from the API is actually what? Sending a response back to the client, and the client will be expecting the client will be expecting the response, but the API could never process the request, so there's nothing to what? Receive. So in that process, the pipeline disconnection error will what? Occur. So step 6 that I need to do is increase timeout limits if necessary. So timeout limits are basically the limits that, okay, if something should keep loading, or if my system should keep expecting this request, so what time should it wait up for, right? So let me say you order food from a food delivery application, and we're expecting, they told you they'll give you the food in let me say in 5 minutes time. Let me be realistic, they said in 1 hour's time, right? So that 1 hour's time, and you as a person who is already hungry, you'll be expecting that food, right? You'll be expecting, oh, I need food, you get. So you're expecting, and there will be a time where you'll be like, you'll be frustrated like, it is past 1 hour, they have not bring it, right? So hadn't been the dispatch or the application have told you that, okay, you can wait for extra 30 minutes. If you do not see them, have it in mind that you cannot deliver the food, right? You have peace of mind that yes, they mention 1 hour 30 minutes, so you have to increase the timeout limits if necessary. So this is especially important for AI application that processes large images or even videos. Sometimes the process simply need more time. Okay, so now let's go into the next section, which is how to prevent this pipeline disconnection error. So it is very, very easy. You have different approach of fixing it. That is why you don't have to be rigid, you have to be flexible. So here are some best practices for you as a developer, right? So you must always check this, understand, and flow along with it. So the thing is, you must always implement retry mechanism, monitor your server continuously, set realistic timeout value, keep Docker container LD, validate API response before even using them. I told you can use Postman or any other API testing tool. So write details log throughout your application, test everything in a staging environment before deploying to production, and if your application receives a lot of traffic, use load balancing to reduce server overload. This practice makes your application much stable, right? So one thing you should know now is pipeline disconnection error can look intimidating, because imagine you having an error and you have a big system that won't depend on each other, as it is moving from one system to another, and you have just one error, one breakdown error in one particular, in a large system. Just expect the pipeline disconnection error from the word pipe, right, and the word line, right? In a water system, in a pipe water system in a building, right? They were able to pass water and seal this inside the building with the use of pipes and a lot of things like that, right? So imagine there is a leakage in one pipe, right? So literally the water will be coming out of the pipe and from there wetting the environment and the building, right? So there is high chances that a pipeline disconnection error will literally happen there. That means the flow is not, that means your system does not flow very, very well. That's what it means. And if your system cannot flow very, very well, there will be a pipeline disconnection error. So it can look very, very intimidating, but in reality there are simple communication failure between the different parts of your application. So the thing is, once you identify where the problem comes from, once you identify where that communication breaks or where the problem comes from, the solution becomes much easier to find. And just a quick reminder, always check your network, verify your API, test it before using, review your logs, inspect your Docker container, and monitor your server. So following a specific systematic approach will solve most pipeline issues faster than guessing. So, and this thing, I know if you're wondering why can I just show you and do this pipeline disconnection error. No, even though I show you we all have different errors and different pipeline disconnection issues and why it's happened, right? Me working on a bank application and you working on a gym application and you have pipeline disconnection error. If I should show you how I fix mine, you can use the approach, but you need to have a diverse knowledge and understand how the system works before you say you can fix the pipeline disconnection error. So following a systematic approach will solve most pipeline issues much faster than guessing. So if this video helped you understand pipeline disconnection errors, give it a like and subscribe for more videos on WordPress development, API, Docker, AI integration, and practical debugging tips. So if you ever face a pipeline disconnection error, let me know in the comments what causes it and how to fix it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you up in the next video.